Thanks once more for that awesome introduction, Master Footman. And now, everyone, I'm very pleased to introduce to you the most interesting feature of the R5 release, and that's the MultiPhase. Now, similar to the DualPhase, the MultiPhase is an action that you can do to help change the color of your saber. However, unlike DualPhase, which was just a simple color shift within one font, the MultiPhase will actually shift the entire font bank going to the next font, including the new colors, the new blade effects. In fact, everything will be changed except for the volume. And what this allows is pretty much a on-the-fly color change with going into new fonts. Alright, so let's go over this feature. So let's start, I'm in my first font right now. So select it and start. Now the font of course works as expected. It even has the DualPhase, the standard DualPhase from R4. But now, by holding down the aux button and twisting, I will multi-phase into the second font. And now you can see the blade color and the hum and all the properties about the font have changed. We are completely in this font right now. And now we can even go to the third font by doing the same thing, holding the button and going forward. Now we're in the third font. And whenever we're done switching, of course we can shut down the saber as normal. With MultiPhase, you're not just limited to going through your fonts one by one. Since in Igniter there's now support for 16 fonts, I think it'd be a little cumbersome to get to the last font by having to go through all the other 15 fonts. So with MultiPhase, if you twist your wrist in a counterclockwise, it advances, and a clockwise motion will actually go to the previous font while it's running. Now, of course, this can be configured in the config, so if you want the reverse, if you want clockwise to be going forward, you can set that. Just keep in mind, I assume the orientation of the board is the SD card is facing toward your stomach, or towards the pommel end of the saber. Okay, so let's try going backwards. So right now we're in episode 2. So let's start this up. Now let's go back to episode 1. And then we can go back to the first font. And then we can even go back, now we can go forward again and go back to episode 1. You can go as many ways as you want. And whenever you're done, you can still just shut it down. Now so far what we've seen is that every time you switch and do the multi-phase, it completely switches everything except for the volume. And this, I've stated this earlier in the video. However, what I didn't mention is there's actually an option you can choose, which is available now in the new MultiPhase or MP tab of the Igniter config editor, and this allows you to retain the hum while you're doing through the multi-phase. So for instance, if we start on font 1, and that's what I'm on right now, so if we start on this font and start it up, as I multi-phase through, I'll actually keep font 1's hum, so let's see that. So now I'm going to multi-phase. So now all the sounds, all the properties are the episode 1 font, but I've retained my father's son font. This gives you a really great way to experience the TruMix, as you can really utilize all the other fonts with a certain hum. Let's go to the next one. And again, still have father's son. All the new songs with episode 2. Now, if I shut it down, and now when I restart it, now the hum will be, of course, episode 2, which I'm on. Essence, episode 2. So I'm on episode 2. Now I got episode 2's hum, but now if I move around forward or backwards, I'll retain this one. So now I have episode 1, but using episode 2 hums. And now I can go back to Father's Son even. And this gives you a really great way to experience the TruMix and get a huge variety of different possible sound fonts off of one saber. Another configurable option for the multi-phase feature is in the offset. Now, similar to the extension offset in R5, which is now a reverse offset. For instance, if you set your hum offset to be 500 milliseconds, that actually means that the hum will start mixing in 500 milliseconds before the end of the out sound. So the multi-phase has a similar thing, which is that you can, when you do the multi-phase, the new hum will come in at that specified offset. So if you put 200, it'll be 200 milliseconds before the end of the file stops playing. And that way you can sort of have like a real defined transition. If you don't want the hum to just come right in right away, if you want a really defined transition with your multi-dot wave really going to the next font before that hum comes, you can set that. So let's do that. And that's a per font setting. So font 2, when I go into that, it'll be the normal with the 0 offset, which is immediate. But then when I go back to font 1, you'll hear the offset. Okay, so now let's go back and we will see that offset.
It's time to face your
There's the offset.
test. Your spies have located Jedi. Yes, Master Ron Kota.
So you can see that will give you a much more defined transition, so you can really hear what the next font you're going into is, if you so desire that feature. Now, one other thing that's configurable with the multi-phase feature is actually the length of the blade transition. This is similar to your dual-phase length. It defines actually the length that the blade goes from the first color to the second color, and that's irrespective of how long the sound plays. So if you have a really long sound, you might want to set the blade transition to like only 1 to 2,000 milliseconds, like 1 to 2 seconds, and let that long sound play. And this is really useful. It's added in dual phase, of course. However, I should also mention that in R5, you can now set the value to 0, and that will auto-calculate the blade length based on the length of the sound file. This also works with the dual phase, and in fact, this also works with the extension and the retraction sounds, all in R5, so that now you can, for those 4 types of sounds, you can just put 0 for the lengths to have it be based on the sound. So let's go ahead and try that. For instance, this one I have 0 for the retraction. So you see that no matter the retraction length, it's right. Now let's check out the multi-phase. So in this case, going this way, I have it set to 1000. So you saw the blade is already changed in the new color here. This is so loud. And now this is the new color. It's already, this is still playing the multi-phase. So let's go back.
It's time to face your first true test.
This one I've also have hard-coded to 1000. So you saw that the sound is still playing, the new color is there. Now this one I've set to 0, so it'll be the exact length of the multi-phase sound. And there you have it.
Mm-hmm.